A news alert reports that a dangerous new infection has been discovered at an airport. Those who catch it turn aggressive very quickly, and the situation there collapses into chaos as fires break out. The disease spreads across the planet and becomes a worldwide disaster. People who are infected change into violent, animal-like creatures known as ferals. Authorities try to control the situation by setting up quarantines, but many people resist and argue that the infected should still be treated as human. Clashes begin between civilians and the military, and the conflict only makes things worse.
Quarantine has been breached. Authorities are asking everyone to stay at home.
Abigail and her brother saw their mom rush to leave as she was speaking to their father on the phone. Their father, who works as a pilot, told them he will be there as soon as he can. He explains that he is busy helping others and reassures them that they are safe with their mother. While they are still at home, a strange noise comes from upstairs, causing the family to panic and rush outside. As they prepare to get into their car, a feral suddenly attacks their mother and kills her.
You gotta help your mom and get yourselves over to Aunt Carrie's.
Abigail quickly hides beneath the vehicle and watches in fear as the creature also attacks her brother. When a police siren sounds nearby, the feral runs away. Soon after, Abigail hears her brother calling out, but their mother has already transformed and turns on him, attacking him as well. Abigail cries, which draws her mother's attention, and she moves toward her. A man named Cassius arrives, shooting her transformed mom. He saves her, and she holds on to him. As her brother begins to change, Cassius tells Abigail to shut her eyes and then ends the boy's life.
You're safe now. Come here. Yeah.
10 years pass, and the world has fallen into ruin. Very few people are left, and nature has taken control of abandoned cities. In a forest, Abigail, now older, moves with Cassius as hunters. His training has made her skilled, shown when she brings down a deer with a precise shot. Even so, he criticizes her for acting too quickly instead of waiting patiently. Later, they set up camp for the night, and he carefully prepares tripwires around their area.
Align the sights. Focus on the reticle.
While they sleep, one of the wires is triggered, waking him. He steps outside and notices debris caught on it, then hears movement nearby. He rushes to calm the horses and prepares his weapon, firing just in time to stop a feral that approaches, likely sent ahead of a larger group. He wakes Abigail and tells her they must leave. Over the next several days, they keep traveling, and whenever they pause to rest, he continues teaching her how to survive.
Your gear. We're moving.
One afternoon, they slow down when they notice an abandoned car nearby and immediately prepare their weapons. Close to it, a man is struggling to kill a feral, while another one quietly moves toward him from behind. Abigail tries to help but fires too quickly, and her shot ends up hitting both the man and the approaching creature. Another infected figure emerges from inside the car, forcing Cassius to step in and take it down. After the danger passes, Abigail checks the vehicle for anything useful, while Cassius finishes the injured man with a blade and takes his shoes.
I told you not to rush.
A radio inside the car begins receiving a message, and Abigail considers warning the caller about the nearby horde. Cassius stops her and tells her to leave it. At that moment, several vehicles arrive, and a group of survivors surrounds them with weapons raised. They inspect the dead man and realize he was killed by a human, leading them to believe Abigail and Cassius attacked him for supplies. The leader threatens them, but Cassius and Abigail react quickly by striking the closest two people and taking their weapons. Both sides aim at each other, and the tension builds until a pregnant woman named Megan steps forward, trying to calm everyone.
Got a bad feeling about this.
She's just a kid.
I don't like the look of the big guy.
Break your legs and leave you here to fucking rot.
Suddenly, the horses become restless, and a large group of ferals appears around them. Gunfire breaks out as everyone tries to hold them back, but the number of creatures is overwhelming. As they close in, Cassius and Abigail switch to close combat, using blades to fight them. The other survivors rely only on their guns and begin to fall one after another. One woman prepares an explosive, but is attacked before she can use it, causing it to ignite and create a blast that throws Cassius backward. A bitten survivor attempts to end his life, but runs out of ammunition and turns shortly after. The group's leader is seized by a massive feral and beaten to death. Nearby, Megan's husband David is attacked, but manages to push it away. Abigail helps Megan and David get into a car, while Cassius clears a path by taking down more creatures before joining them. As they drive off, a feral clings to the roof, forcing Cassius to stop suddenly so it falls off. During the brief pause, Abigail grabs their belongings and they manage to escape. Once they are safely on the road, Abigail checks their supplies and realizes they have lost most of their ammunition. Megan explains that they were heading toward a settlement near a river and reveals that she is close to giving birth, with only a short time remaining.
It's the 35th week.
What does that mean?
It means she's close.
Abigail and Cassius believe that searching for settlements is pointless, since they have come across many before and none of them lasted. While traveling, their car suddenly stops, and they realize the engine has failed, forcing them to continue on foot. After some time, they arrive at an empty town and choose to stay there for the night. They carefully check a building to make sure no ferals are inside, then secure it and set up a place to rest.
We have no spare parts.
To you, the Geek Squad.
Megan offers them some of her food, but Abigail and Cassius refuse, explaining that they only eat animals they hunt to avoid any risk of infection. Megan and David explain that they have been in contact with a settlement through the radio, and they believe it has enough supplies and medical staff. However, reaching it will take about a week, which makes the journey dangerous. In return, Abigail shares that she and Cassius are heading toward the western coast, hoping to find a way to escape by boat to nearby islands.
And they have plenty of water and food, and they even have doctors.
Later, after setting up tripwires around the area, Cassius studies a map and shows Megan and David the safest path to reach the settlement. Despite this, he makes it clear that he and Abigail will not go with them, believing the feral group will return and track them. Abigail later speaks to him alone and insists they should help, thinking this settlement might be different from the others. They argue about it, but he continues to refuse.
Go together? Now you come with us?
During the night, the feral group comes across the broken car and follows the trail leading toward the town. Inside the building, the two men remain awake. Cassius shows David that he always keeps a final bullet ready in case he ever gets infected. David has little to rely on, only a cigarette and an injured ankle. They spend time talking and begin to trust each other, which eventually leads Cassius to change his mind and agree to guide them to the settlement. The next morning, Abigail hears a noise from below and goes to check it. A feral suddenly attacks her, causing her to lose her gun, but she reacts quickly and manages to kill it using her machete. Another feral runs after Abigail up the stairs, forcing her to react quickly. She uses a broken window to push the creature out of the building, nearly losing her balance in the process. But Cassius reaches her in time and pulls her back to safety. By the time the horde reaches the building, the group has already escaped. One of the creatures triggers a cable outside, setting off a small explosion that kills it.
Time to move on. Come on.
Later on, Abigail realizes they are close to a civilian airport where her father once worked as a pilot. Cassius argues against going there, believing it would be an open area where they could easily be surrounded, and he doubts any aircraft would still be available. Despite his concerns, Abigail and the others decide to head there, leaving him with no option but to follow.
If we get surrounded there, it's over. And walking will be the least of our problems.
During the journey, they come across an old building and a nearby car with a man who has been recently shot. Cassius asks Abigail to search the place for supplies, but she remains uneasy and avoids staying too long, sensing danger. Inside, she only finds some coffee and fails to notice a family hiding in another room. Meanwhile, Cassius checks the car and finds a wheelchair, which they use to help Megan move more easily. After the group leaves, the horde arrives and quickly kills the hidden family.
Take only what's useful.
We must eat something. We haven't stopped since this morning.
When they finally reach the airport, they find it empty of planes. As David and Cassius begin to argue about their next move, Abigail interrupts after locating her father's hangar. Inside, they discover a plane, and David begins working on repairing it. While he focuses on the engine, Cassius and Abigail search the area. Abigail comes across an old photograph of herself with her father and places it back where it belongs.
Nothing.
Get there in a couple of hours.
Uh-huh.
Before they can finish, the horde arrives, forcing them to rush onto the plane even though it is not fully ready. Cassius fires his weapon to slow the approaching creatures, while David manually turns the propeller to help start the engine. Abigail struggles with limited flying knowledge as the plane slowly begins to move, with the horde closing in. Eventually, she manages to operate the controls correctly, allowing the plane to gain speed. A feral grabs onto the door, but Cassius shoots it, causing it to fall away. The plane lifts off, and they escape.
In 3 minutes.
They're coming! No, we'll be ready! They're coming!
However, their relief is short as the aircraft soon begins to fail and lose altitude. Abigail attempts to land, but the plane crashes into trees before hitting the ground. It lands upright and everyone survives with minor injuries. Nearby, they find a train station and carefully check it before deciding to rest there. Cassius studies the map and determines that the colony is about 2 days away, so they plan to leave at sunrise. Abigail checks their remaining ammunition and sees that supplies are low. Later, Megan and Cassius share some food, and he reflects on his past, explaining that she reminds him of his wife. He reveals that he was forced to kill Abigail's infected family to save her. He always felt he was obligated to look after her to make up for that.
But to look after her.
He also recalls a boy from his hometown who was bitten and took days to fully transform due to the nature of the injury. At the same time, David quietly examines his ankle in private and realizes it is not a simple injury but a bite, leading him to understand that he must separate himself from the others.
And the last that I ever watched go through that.
The following day, the group keeps walking through the forest. David starts feeling worse, and Cassius notices blood on his leg. After waiting for others to move ahead, he pulled David aside against a tree and inspected his ankle, confirming he had been bitten. Cassius tells him he can choose to reveal it himself, but warns that if he delays, he will kill him himself.
What? I should kill you right here.
Later, they reach a house with lights on. As they approach, a man inside calls out to them. Cassius is suspicious and thinks it is unsafe, but Abigail steps forward and explains they need help, assuring him they are not a threat and mentioning the pregnant woman in their group. The man Norton opens the door while holding a gun and orders them to leave their weapons outside. After they comply, he suddenly becomes welcoming and invites them in.
Just need some rest.
There's nothing here to take.
Abigail, hey!
Inside, Cassius notices the house has electricity. Norton explains that he is an engineer who built systems for power and hot water. He briefly mentions having a wife, but avoids answering Megan's questions about her. He offers them food, and Abigail is relieved to finally take a shower. Cassius manages to access a laptop and looks through old photos of him and his wife, who had been pregnant before the outbreak.
Fortunately, I have plenty of books. I figured everything out for inside the house. I have geothermal electricity.
Megan later speaks to Cassius privately and admits she is frightened because she has not felt her baby move since arriving. She asks him to promise that if something happens to her, he will protect the child. That night, Norton shares drinks with the group and talks about living alone in the house for many years. He says he has heard about the colony, but has no interest in joining, as he prefers isolation. His speech turns bitter as he criticizes humanity, claiming people ruined the world and deserved what happened. And he describes the virus as a kind of natural selection, where only the strongest survive.
Of ostentation. I mean, we used to go there for work, but real life is here.
Cassius notices a strange knife on a table, but Norton quickly takes it away. Meanwhile, David becomes increasingly ill and goes to the bathroom, where he realizes the infection is progressing. When he returns, he finds the others unconscious. Norton is now wearing a lab coat and has used a device to drug their drinks. He reveals that he knows David is infected and activates a machine that emits a sound, causing him severe pain and forcing him to collapse. Norton explains that the device affects only infected individuals. Before David loses consciousness, the horde arrives at the train station and continues searching the area.
So my question is...
David regains consciousness and finds the group tied up in a basement. Norton is present, documenting his actions as part of an experiment. He also reveals that his infected wife is being kept in a cage and then releases her, using a device to force her into attacking the others. Cassius and Abigail try to hold the infected woman back by kicking her away, but she turns her focus to David. David manages to break free from his restraints and fights back, overpowering her for a short moment. Norton intervenes using his device to stop David from reaching the others. Although David is infected, he is not fully transformed yet, so he pushes through the pain and unties the others. Cassius finds a weapon and attempts to shoot Norton, but Norton escapes. The group rushes upstairs and locks the door, but Norton immediately starts breaking it down with an axe. Abigail grabs his car keys, while Cassius retrieves his gear and also restrains David, intending to kill him due to the infection. Megan persuades him to delay the decision.
Come with us. Let me help when I can. Tell me why I shouldn't f***ing kill him.
As they move toward the car, Megan realizes that her water just broke. Norton watches them leave while his infected wife remains nearby, growling. Once they reach the forest, the horde catches up and begins chasing them. In the distance, they spot lights that indicate the colony is nearby. They try to escape by car, but a fallen tree blocks the road, forcing them to continue on foot. The horde closes in and they open fire, but David eventually runs out of ammunition. Accepting that he will turn, he tells the others to leave him behind so he can delay the attackers. The group shares a final goodbye, and Cassius gives David his spare bullet before leaving with Abigail and Megan.
I'll always be with you. Tell that big boy I love him, okay?
After they move far enough away, David smokes a cigarette and fights the approaching creatures in close combat, taking down several of them. However, a large feral attacks him from behind and kills him by breaking his neck. The remaining creatures then continue chasing the others. Abigail fires her weapon to protect Cassius and help Megan reach safety. She begins calling for help, and her voice attracts the attention of guards at the colony gate, who open fire and eliminate the pursuing creatures. Seeing the dead bodies in the lights, the remaining horde retreats into the forest.
We should help them.
Quiet. Just wait.
The survivors are allowed into the colony, and Megan is taken to medical care, where a midwife tends to her. After speaking with the colony leader, Cassius tells Abigail they should leave soon, believing people cannot be trusted. Abigail, exhausted from everything they have endured, ignores his warning. The next morning, Cassius speaks with the midwife, who confirms the baby is safe, but warns that Megan only has a few hours left. Cassius meets Megan and is told that her baby is a girl, whom she names Hope. Before she dies, she reminds him of his promise and hands over a family locket. At the same time, Norton reaches the forest, sees the aftermath of the attacks, and spots the colony in the distance. When feral creatures approach him, he uses his device to control them and declares that he is preparing to strike the colony for revenge. Inside the colony, Cassius looks after the newborn and thinks about what to do next. Abigail spends time with local teenagers and later joins them at a nighttime gathering where alcohol is shared. While some guards fall asleep, a group of teenagers takes the chance to explore a hidden tunnel. Abigail follows and finds a strange remote device. Before she can investigate further, a boy named Roderick stops her and explains that the entire fishing settlement is rigged with explosives. He says the device could trigger a large blast if ferals invade, and that people can escape through a hidden hatch leading to an abandoned dam. The next morning, Norton kills a guard on a boat and then allows a feral to enter the colony from the water, where it also kills another guard. With defenses weakened, he prepares to unleash the horde, causing widespread chaos as the attack begins. Armed residents attempt to fight back, and Abigail rescues Roderick from a feral before helping organize the teenagers. She assigns fighters to higher positions and sends Roderick to guide civilians toward the dam, while she sets out to find Cassius.
I'm gonna go find Cassius.
As panic spreads, the midwife takes the baby Hope from Cassius so he can go search for Abigail. Ammunition quickly runs out, and the colony leader tries to escape but is killed by a feral. Abigail and Cassius eventually reunite and fight together using both guns and close combat. When they spot a chance to evacuate, Cassius is distracted after seeing Norton, and a feral knocks him down. He manages to kill the creature, but Norton reaches him and begins attacking while speaking about his belief that he is improving the world. After a short struggle, Cassius regains his footing and forces Norton against a wall. He repeatedly smashes Norton's device until it is destroyed. With the control gone, he leaves Norton behind and rushes back toward Abigail, while the feral creatures swarm and kill Norton. The remaining survivors finish moving through the tunnel and reach the dam. They ask Roderick to trigger the explosives, but he hesitates because Abigail has not yet made it out of the colony. At the same time, a large feral attacks Abigail, and Cassius intervenes, striking it down with a heavy tool.
Abigail, move! Go!
When the creature falls, Abigail notices a bracelet on it and realizes in shock that it belonged to her father. The discovery leaves her frozen, and Cassius pulls her back to her senses and drags her toward the exit. They manage to enter the tunnel just before Roderick gives up waiting and detonates the colony, wiping out the remaining feral creatures inside. At the dam, The survivors later find that one of the men among them is infected. While Cassius tries to calm him, a feral suddenly attacks and kills the man, then turns on Cassius. A brutal fight follows, with both struggling until they collapse to the ground, and the creature nearly bites him. This time, Abigail waits carefully and shoots at the right moment, saving him. Afterward, they watch the destroyed colony burn and discuss their next step. Abigail suggests that they can start again and build a new settlement. Cassius reveals that he has taken Norton's notebook, which contains plans for constructing a generator, giving them a way to rebuild the machine to protect themselves from the ferals.